You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Jin Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Intelligence After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Intelligence After Show.
Before you go. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the Intelligence After Show. I'm your host, Ryan Hooks. Today at AFTERBUZZ TV, episode number 9, Athens.
Yes.
Joining me on the panel, as always, are my lovely, intelligent, beautiful co-hosts, Mr. Lem Gonsalvez.
I am very beautiful, thank you.
Yeah,
good
beautiful
to see y'all.
and bearded.
That's right.
And Arietta Harry in the booth, and Yael Tygiel beside me.
Hi, thanks.
Let me try that again. Yael Tygiel, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, thank you.
And dropping the beat in the booth.
That would be me.
Right to Harry.
That's me, guys. That's me.
I got
Thank you.
confused because I was reading off a board
Apparently,
the people
Roy
that I
and
already
are the
know.
same people. We're the same person.
Exact same.
You're kind of the same people to me.
Okay.
Not the same, really, in the aspect that you're
You just
alike.
love them both.
I equally love you so much.
There it is.
That
We're
to
just
me,
equally awesome. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
Smooth.
yes, that's way to fade out the music and pull your voice up.
Great.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. We're happy to have you. We're here to talk about intelligence. So I want to know, because I know the answer to this, what do you guys think about this episode this week?
I loved this episode. I really did. I think it was a great story. It was interesting, and it was finally we get to see a problem with the chip. Finally.
Finally, the
I
problem
loved
we've
it.
been looking for.
Yeah.
Lem. Go
Oh,
on.
shoot. I equally loved it, probably for different reasons. I liked it because it was different. I feel like, aside from the first few episodes, a lot of the, let's say the last 4 episodes are very much similar in the fact that, you know, you go out, you have a mission, the mission is completed, and then end of story. But this had a lot of emotion. I like that everybody was crying. Lillian was crying. Dr. Cassidy was crying. I mean, everybody was emotional.
Hugging and
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Feeling the love.
Yeah, but it was a really good episode. Like I said, a break from the norm. So yeah, I really appreciated it.
Look at that. Harmony on the panel tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Something we don't have too often here at the AFTERBUZZ
Right.
Studios,
Nope.
where there's an agreement on the panel. So,
Wait, hold on. Thank you. How did you feel about the episode?
for me, this was not my favorite episode. It was a very good episode. It was not my favorite episode.
I'm gonna jump them.
No, you know what though? You know what I do love about this episode? One word.
I know what
Oh,
it
of
is.
course.
One word. Nelson.
Yes.
Who doesn't love Nelson? Because I do.
Yeah.
Every week I love Nelson.
Of course you do.
I loved it.
Even when he's not there.
Dude, he's like, are you guys about to kick some serious butt? Because I want to kick some butt too. I'm in, let's do it. And he's tipping the chair over and he's
Yeah.
shooting stuff.
The ceiling.
Yeah, he killed somebody. The ceiling.
Right.
I love that line. Do I have to pay for this?
Yeah.
And the end of the episode was absolutely my favorite part. He's like, I'm out.
Right.
And he just chucks the paper.
Yeah. He was great. Like, I think just seeing him kind of rise as a character, because, like, I agree with you. I mean, I'm not as, I don't have a man crush like you do, but I mean, I think he's good. I think he's good, but I really, I won't say man crush, but he did touch my heart.
He did.
With how he acted, because he was so gangsta at some point in times, and then he was so smart at a time. And then when he panicked, it was still dope when he hits the printer and he thinks he shuts down the entire, like,
wasn't me.
my fault. It wasn't my fault.
Lights went out.
He
Yeah.
definitely had my favorite line of the entire episode. You like idioms? I got nothing.
Right, and he's like, do it, and nothing comes out. It's like, you got nothing, really? And you know what they did this week is they did what we talked about wanting them to do is, with the introduction of these backstories, now that we're getting Jameson and we're getting Nelson, they were in the episode more, but they were in those roles. So like Jameson was a little bit more, agent-y this week than he has been in the past, and he helped Riley get away. And Nelson was still scientific, but he was, they were in the episode throughout, and they kept interjecting their parts here and there, so they continued the flow of the whole show.
Right.
So I really liked that aspect of it. And we got a lot more character development with Vaughn in terms of feeling and emotion.
Yeah.
This okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but is this the first time, again, barring the first 2 episodes, that we saw a true emotion from him?
Yes, I would say this
say,
was
yeah.
is very much a Lem love-filled episode. Lemon is love.
I do. I love love. I do love love. I
And
do
that
love
was,
love.
and then that was the solution was love.
Love. Yes. And I love that.
I know.
L for Lem and L for
Yes.
the way you look at me.
Right.
The way you look at me tonight. ladies
Yes.
and gentlemen. So this episode did bring in a new aspect as well, something we haven't seen that we've been talking about that we wanted, but we had a return of a character.
We did.
So we had Jin Cong come back, after his stint in prison in China, because in the first episode he was in the pilot, and they traded him to China, basically for information about Amelia.
Right.
And so he was returned because he escaped, and he was the boots were on the guy as well. The soldier that they killed basically had the right size shoes. They got him out, and he's basically the main reason for this entire episode, which is good. So that got me thinking, who's next?
Oh, as far as returning?
If someone else is to return, who's next?
Amelia. Obviously, she's gonna return again. We're gonna have to see her.
Yeah?
Because she's not dead. Yeah. Trust me.
You think Amelia? So of the people we've been missing, Agent Griffin,
Right.
Mei Chin, Amelia. I like the in unison, and Jin Cong. So those are our four characters.
What was his name?
Jin Cong.
There we go. Say it slow.
All right.
If I say it Jin Cong, it sounds sort of
Right.
racist. Right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jin Cong.
I thought it was Jin Cong.
Jin Cong, you're right, but it's spelled Chong,
Okay.
according to DVR. So those are our four characters. Regardless, our four characters that I'm doing it this way as well. The four characters that we've lost. If one of the four characters comes back, who else is coming back?
Okay, so I see where you come from. Is it because they mentioned her name?
Yeah, well, they've been mentioning. They always mention her name.
I mean,
and I
yeah.
think,
But they haven't for a couple weeks.
and I don't believe she's dead.
No, I don't either.
So I think she's coming back. Then again, we also know that Agent Griffin
Griffin, yeah.
is. We know that, right?
It's not for sure. Just
According
Michael Trucco
to- right.
tweeted to me that don't be surprised if he shows back up.
Right.
But that was like, that could be anything you say on
Right.
Twitter can be taken out of context.
Don't be surprised if this character that you mentioned shows back up on the show that you mentioned. That's so vague.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just a way to. He could be throwing you off.
Just
I
to
mean,
keep us interested in the show.
yeah, exactly.
Let
That's
us
all
know
that
how
is.
interested are in the
I don't.
show.
Okay, for my prediction, I would say Amelia just because again, she's periodically throughout. She's not in every single episode, but I will say Mei Chin only because we need another villain.
Yes.
And if they brought, him back, Jin Cong, back, then I can see Mei Chin coming back again and wreaking havoc and having that aspect come.
And because they were together, the purpose of, the flow of the
Exactly.
show, those were the people they brought in
Exactly.
one at a time.
Exactly.
you
So
gotta
that's why
connect.
I say Mei Chin.
I think also the reason I'm fighting so much for Amelia is that not only do they remember, like they brought her up this week, but they talked about Riley killed Amelia. So
when
there were air
supposedly
quotes for those listening.
For those listening, the air quotes were out that Riley killed Amelia
Yeah.
in the fake documents that they put into the computer system.
Right.
Right.
So when Vaughn was accessing the computer, he would get all this information that was wrong.
So I believe Amelia's coming back for
Okay.
sure.
So you know who I know for sure is coming back?
Who's that?
Octavius Johnson.
Do you? Do you?
I do. So I spoke with Octavius's publicist this week as
Okay.
well. I'm going to go ahead and say it now.
Thank
He's
you.
going to come back on the show as well.
Awesome.
So his episode's coming in a couple weeks. It's going to be on the 17th. of
Okay, so we
Monday.
know this for sure.
For sure, it's the 17th.
For sure, it's the 17th.
Our boy Octavius, who was here during episode 3, was out filming Ray Donovan, is actually coming back to the studio to join us the week his episode airs.
Awesome.
Excellent.
So his schedule's kind of adjusted a little bit, and he's able to come back in. So he'll be here for sure for that. So I know that is my prediction of who's returning. Octavius Johnson.
Wait, is his character returning to the show?
No, he's returning to the studio.
Okay, just making sure.
It's
I
a-
just didn't want to confuse.
There was a
our-
correlation between the return of something to somewhere, and that's where I went with it.
I got it. No, I loved it. That was wonderful.
And I'm going to have to go with Lem, too. Mei Chin is my returning person.
Awesome.
That's
awesome.
just who you're hoping for that.
So,
It's the green. It's the green.
All right.
yeah, Lem and I are both wearing green and yellow today.
Yes.
Not planned.
Not planned at
But
all.
we both look bearded and awesome. Mm-hmm. So,
Agreed.
Agreed.
Awesome.
No more applause for that.
I know. Can we get like some
No.
kind of beard quote or something?
No, moving on.
Nope.
A bear
I'm doing
sa-
air quotes
a
right now.
bear
Oh, air
sound,
quotes. Air quotes. I said a beard.
a moose, a bear.
Well,
some kind
I
of
mean, just
manly-
something
a
like,
lion.
yeah, something.
That was
Back
my
to
attempt at-
intelligence.
Back to intelligence. Characters returns. So this week we see that the U.S. Cyber Command is in trouble. Maybe not in trouble, but the DOD is in the house doing a little investigation, checking up on things, seeing what's up. And they're showing them all their cool tools. They're showing them the satellite that they can move with their palm. And I love the agent. She's like, well, what happens if somebody loses their key card?
Right.
And they look at her like she's stupid. Like,
Right.
What do you mean? If somebody is missing a hand? So basically just say it. If somebody's hand gets cut off in a freak gardening accident, then then what?
Yeah. I love how Lillian is like, can you check to make sure everybody has their hands
And
on?
Jameson's like, right, ma'am. 2 hands. Check.
Now, I have a question for you guys. Did you think at some point, because she seemed really suspicious to me at the beginning, did you think something was up with
The
her?
DOD
Like
lady?
maybe, yes,
Yeah.
like she had an ulterior motive or something like what we saw in a previous episode?
Or the in-house.
Exactly.
was
Did you
there.
think something was up with that, or did you think that she was, in fact, there for what she was supposed to be there for?
So I thought she was there for her intended purpose of security checks and whatever. That I believed. I thought that her partner, David Collingsworth, I thought he was evil because he asked out Riley. I was like, oh, I don't trust him.
Oh, yeah.
I'd ask out Riley too.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't be weird like he was.
That was a really awkward situation.
That was super awkward.
I liked it.
Super awkward.
You would.
I love awkward situations. Those are my favorite.
I love how Gary was like, why don't you give him something? Take him to coffee or something, like, give him a chance.
We need to pass this
Right.
DOD investigation. Can you please help us out?
Yeah.
Throw us a bone or something.
Right.
So it's cool because I like that they were there throughout the beginning of the episode. It's funny because Yael and I were talking. They disappeared like halfway through the episode.
Yeah.
It was
they did.
right after they.
After the Chinese people show up.
Lillian said we're gonna initiate the Orion Protocol, and they were like, "No, not the Orion Protocol."
There's so many other things we could do.
And then they disappeared.
It's funny you said that because I just now understand, like, they did disappear.
Yeah, and so I thought maybe I missed something, but
Well, I mean, the
I
thought
clearly-
process probably is, since they were taking people hostages and they were tying people up, they also then took them to another place and tied them up. Or maybe they were tied up in a different, I don't know.
Okay.
That's the theory, at least.
and then they didn't come back at the end.
No.
Well, I mean,
There was
Okay.
no need.
they're not important. I mean, they
Right.
weren't important to the storyline.
Are they dead? Because that's kind of an important story.
Well, you know what's really funny is in the scene when they had the 3 of them hostage and they pulled up that random guy and they're like, I'm going to shoot him. I'm like, he's
Right.
dead.
Right.
Like immediately before he even said he was going to shoot him, I yelled at the TV, he's dead.
Right.
Because when you bring in somebody that you've never seen before and you don't know who they are, chances are they're going to get killed.
Exactly.
But then immediately when he put the gun to Nelson's head, it was fine.
Right.
He changed his mind. You know.
Well, of course, he's not going to.
'cause we
Well, he's
know-
not going to kill Nelson.
because he likes idioms.
We know the show doesn't kill off major characters like we hope for sometimes. Yeah, go ahead, Yael. Tell us what you feel about it for real.
What I'm amused that it was just such a, like, you're not gonna shoot him, he's gonna be fine, we're gonna move on, and the show is not trying to take the risks that it can.
Correct. Because it's not that kind of show.
Yeah.
We've learned that now.
we have kind of
Which
established
also then must mean Amelia is not dead. Because if it's not the kind of show that kills off major characters,
that. Right.
major character can't be dead.
You're
Right.
welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
See what I did there? How I connected those dots? Doot, doot, doot.
So wait, are you saying you agree with Yael here?
I never disagreed with you. I always thought Amelia was going to come back
Okay.
eventually. However, I think the next person to come back is not Amelia.
Oh, okay.
I think if we see Amelia, we're looking for episode 12, 13.
Like further
yeah.
on down.
Yeah, like end of the series.
Because that would be a big,
Season.
That's
a big
yeah, they're-
portion.
That's what you meant.
Yes, end of the season. The cliffhanger, if you will, at the end, that could hopefully ties into season 2.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking for. That's what we need. So yeah, I liked the DOD interactions because it seemed like they were always a step behind everybody. You know, Nelson's on the computer after the hack comes in, and
Right.
she's like, why did you institute this protocol? And he's like, that was like 5 minutes ago.
Right.
You're way behind, and you know.
He like yelled at her.
Yeah.
Like he was just like, get away from me. Like he was very, very aggressive. And I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Who doesn't like Nelson being aggressive?
Right,
Nelson
right.
was great in this episode.
He was.
Just all
As
around.
opposed to which episode?
The ones where he's not there.
Right.
Truth.
I meant in this episode, you see a lot of him. He does
Mm-hmm.
a lot of great things. He has a lot of great lines. This was a Nelson heavy episode, and Jameson also was nicely featured.
Yeah.
It was a great episode for the support, and I think that was one of the greatest parts of this episode is that Gabriel was really out of commission because at first he was, locked in a box because he was going crazy, and then he was one of the bad guys. So we got to see everybody else be awesome
Because they had to.
because they had to
step up.
and that is an interesting show.
Yes. And so based on the things that you've just said, 2 questions are posed in my brain.
I'm so excited.
Number 1.
Yeah.
How does somebody as intelligent as Nelson not know how to function a printer?
So he says, and this is a great answer. He said that he prints something once a
week. They have to print out the one report once a week.
Yeah,
Right.
one piece of paper. They live in Cyber Command. They're a technological advanced place. They don't use paper. It's like on Almost Human, for example, where no one uses a pen.
Occasionally you leave notes. In one episode, they left a note.
Anyway.
They couldn't even find a pen, yeah.
It's just like that. They don't print things. They don't use paper.
But the
They
printer
send
is,
emails.
and he makes the comment, he's like, why don't you just do the voodoo thing you do and hack into the printer? And you want to use a $30 million chip to get in the printer?
But he will use it to unlock the door.
He did use it to unlock the door.
He uses it
Unlock
for a lot
many
of
doors,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Security camera. I mean, yeah.
I think he just didn't want to know how to use the printer. I mean, I thought that it was going to end up that like the printer's out of ink or paper or something, and he didn't realize that.
He said the very first thing, he's like, and it's plugged in. I checked.
Right.
Because you're like, oh, it's probably not plugged in.
Yeah.
So I'm posing the question back to you. What do you think, in regards to your question?
About the printer.
Right.
I feel like it's one of those printers that just is evil. Like there's always like the one rogue printer in the offices that you can't get to work, regardless of how smart you are. And like he was sweet talking to it. And he's like, "Oh, come on, baby, I owe you." And he was start trying to make some love to it, and finally it worked.
I've never oiled a printer.
Yeah, I've never oiled a printer either, but apparently
Maybe that was the problem.
There was oil in the printer.
There's oil on the printer doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Right.
All right. So question number 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
About Vaughn. It seemed in this episode he was so quick to not listen to or trust anyone from Cyber Command, but he was so quick in immediately getting on the opposite side of the bad guys. So, like, why do you think that is?
So at first it was that he was unable to hear them or think properly because he was overwhelmed with information. What my question is how was it that as soon as the bad guys came in, he was able to just pull up what he was looking for when 2 minutes before that he couldn't pull up what he was looking for?
He pulled up Dr. Cassidy's stuff instead of Riley's
Yeah.
stuff
Right.
when he was in the cell, and then
Because he was arrested for public nudity
Right.
and possession of a controlled
Right.
substance.
It's like, oh, that was my file. My bad.
dude, he's an old school streaker from way back.
Yeah, that was hilarious. By
He's
the
a
way.
hippie. Let's
Right.
be honest.
That's true.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you're saying, but didn't he have him do that exercise where he said, "I want you to hone in onto"?
Yeah, but he
Riley?
failed at it. He tried to do it and he did it wrong.
He started to learn the control because they talked about Beethoven's Fifth and how he
Right.
would pick out a single violin and
Right.
focus on it, and that was how he started to control
Right.
the things that happened, and that's how he was able to pick out files when he was thinking about things because he was flooded with the same amount of information when he first got the chip.
Right.
And so so the question becomes, how did it suddenly start working?
2 minutes later, he was like, "Oh, I remember how to do this." Muscle memory
Right.
kicked in, maybe.
Because, and the thing that was weird to me is Riley comes out after he escaped, after he fights those 2 soldiers, and he basically is like, "Oh, how'd I do that?" And she's like, you're a soldier. That's what
Right.
you do. It's muscle memory. So they mentioned muscle memory there for the first time. But then Riley had her gun and puts her gun down. Well, then these 2 Chinese soldiers come up, Jin Cong included, and they have guns as well, but they're like, "Oh, hey, we're on the same side." Is it because they're in uniform? I mean,
Maybe.
Well, I think up to that point, since he's had the chip. Before that, obviously, he was a soldier. He was a really good soldier, which is part of the reason why he was, good for this experiment. But he relied so much on the chip itself. And I think because he relied on the chip, when the chip was telling him information, even though it was false, he was still relying on that, which is why he turned. And it wasn't until, get this, he used his heart that he was able to override the
Yeah,
chip.
there's that poet we
I'm
know.
just saying he used that heart, and that got him over to the edge. But I think that's why he was so banked on the chip, and I think it showed how the chip is flawed. Which I don't know if this maybe come up in a future episode. We're not doing predictions right
Probably
now.
not.
But but it did show the flaw of the chip, and he did have to use his own self because he is human, by the way, and he has a heart.
so we're learning that technology can be flawed.
What? Technology can be flawed?
But what isn't flawed?
Flawed?
What isn't flawed?
Flawed?
What is not flawed?
Yes.
The flaws that are lacking is in iTunes.
Oh yeah.
Smooth.
iTunes is not lacking in flaws. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you love our show, which we hope you do,
You do love
better.
our show.
which I do, and I love doing it for you, the way that you can show us thanks is to go onto iTunes. check out all of our different shows. We've got like 70 plus shows on there. It's growing. The list is growing. We got a bunch of new shows coming out here in the next couple of weeks because of all these new premieres that are coming out. And you can rate us. You can leave us comments. 5 stars is always what we like. You know, and we love hearing back from you. Leave us some comments on the YouTube channel because I'm on there like 16 times a week leaving comments back. I like to do that.
Yes, you do.
I like hearing from you guys.
Yes.
So check us out on iTunes and see what's up and watch the show. That's it. It's easy.
Super easy.
It's free. We're doing this for free for you, so do it for free for us. That's it.
That's all we ask.
Yeah.
And I'm out.
Nice.
And I'm out. Yes.
Dude, I just win the spinning wheel prize.
You did.
you
You
did.
won the best iTunes speech prize. That's
Yeah.
what that,
That was
There you go.
that was from the
The
heart.
fact
And
that
what-
it's over was what. No, I'm just.
For those of you who didn't
Oh.
fast forward ahead, my speech is now over, and I'm getting grief from the booth.
Oh, shoot.
All right. Well, let's talk
was
about this
amazing.
episode
Keep-
some more.
keep it
no,
up.
we're good. So the whole episode concept is there was an electronic pulse that was sent, and it fried all the waves in the system at the Cyber Command. Also fried the chip. So here's a question for you then, because in the episode after the power was cut, so after the trunk was cut,
Before you go for that, I had a note about that. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not a technological person, I would say, but didn't that cutting of the trunk, so to speak, and I'm using air quotes too, didn't that seem kind of primitive?
slightly.
Like he literally like took a chainsaw and like
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
And cut all the fiber optic cables that
Right.
were going out of the building.
Right.
So I will try to explain as a technological person.
okay, please.
Nerd us out.
Yeah,
Go.
Yes.
I consider myself technological. So this was the Orion Protocol,
Okay.
where they cut all of the wires, and what they did was they disconnected themselves from the outside world. So basically, it's the equivalent of unplugging your modem, unplugging your phone. That's what they did, but they have so much. They have so many different
Servers and
and
intel.
everything that they needed to cut all of it. And they couldn't sit there and unplug the whole thing. They just severed it.
Yeah, that's the protocols. You cut the cabling.
Yeah.
So that cable was that was separating or
That
connecting
was,
them to the world.
It was a ton of cable. That was
Right.
not just one giant.
Right,
cable.
That was thousands
right.
of cables.
Yeah.
Right.
So they
That's why it's
just-
called the trunk, because it's really as big as a trunk.
Yeah.
Sure.
So they disconnected from the outside world. They had no phones. They had no, servers. They had nothing.
But that's not where I was going with that.
I know. I was just explaining how
Well, no, I appreciate
the internet
it
works.
because I really thought I was like he's real. I thought it was going to be more like, oh, I'm gonna do the switch or I'm gonna shut this down.
But that would be a Nelson thing.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it was Jameson who did it.
Jameson chainsawed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Straight
did.
gangsta style.
Like, it was gangster.
So no, so the pulse itself. So here's where I'm going with this.
Okay.
If the system, no, never mind. I'm not going to go there. So the electromagnetic pulse.
I was so excited.
No, it's
Ready.
fine.
Ready.
I'll get there again, but I was thinking about it. It doesn't make sense because I was going to say, how come the pulse screwed up this internal system and then him as well? But then when they cut the power, or like you can't get cell phone reception in there, and the system's all blocked out from the outside. So how was the pulse able to get inside?
So it was, I believe they said it was a virus that it infiltrated somehow.
I guess.
So
Yeah.
they sent a virus in.
They said that something started it, and it started with the printer somehow. It came in with that, and then it just grew from there. They showed us it webbed out the virus.
Yeah, they were showing the web out of the virus and the breakdown of how it was getting into
Is that
the
when they were
system.
talking about the levels? Like it's
Yeah.
at level 5, now it's at level
And
7.
at level 10
up to
they would
level
get
10 they would
everything.
have all the access to all the information.
Right.
But then after the power was cut and after the trunk was severed by the Orion Protocol, they still had internal service, which is only in their internal network. And that's why Vaughn was still able to access the network and such, because he was linked in internally. So, if they can use that network, why couldn't they fix the chip? There's a lot of things I feel like
The chip was fixed. He could access everything that was inside the building. So that's why the computers were turned on, the security was turned back on. They could watch people. So everything inside the building was on. There was no way to communicate outside the building. So his chip was on and working. He was just getting used to using it again.
right.
But it was all with false information.
Falsified data because of Norman, the varsity hacker dropping bombs.
Right.
I love it. He's like, oh, dude, he's varsity. Look at him. He's in. I'm just going to keep bringing up Nelson every single time
Yeah.
we
I
have the
like that he
opportunity.
was Norman and Nelson. Those are our
Yeah.
Right.
those are our computer geeks.
Right.
Norman and Nelson are our computer hackers. You need a weird name like that, don't you? To be
Apparently.
a computer hacker.
I'm not a hacker.
Yes. Well, you don't have a weird
NSA,
name.
I'm not a hacker.
Yeah. NSA, I know you're watching because you always watch the movement of Yael.
Yeah.
She's not a hex.
So I watch everything she does.
Moving on.
Let's not bring up the NSA because as soon as we start talking their name, they're going to start coming in here and checking into things. I'm going to get audited, and then where will we be?
Right.
So we learned some cool information as well about the way the chip is connected to the brain.
Yeah.
Because after the EMP knocks out his brainwaves, he talks about how they actually had to connect it to his hippocampus, which is where memory's stored. So there's some kind of shock wave that fried his brain in addition to the frying the chip. So like that makes an interesting point as well, because could something happen to his brain that could alter the chip? So, you know, instead of altering the chip to alter his brain, can it happen in reverse?
I think so.
Could he get bashed in the head so hard the chip stop, you know, something happens or something along those lines?
I was thinking that when he was fighting, there was an instance where he was fighting, and I thought like, oh, I can see him getting hit in the head, and all of a sudden the chip working.
I was thinking the same thing.
Or
There was a
something
scene where
like
he got
that.
hit and he was like down on his knee. I was like, the chip's gonna work.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I think definitely. I mean, I don't. As far as like how the chip is in there, obviously it's attached to his brain. But we're dealing with a human who has a heart, by the way. But we're dealing with a human. This is brain tissue. This is matter. So anything can happen unless he has some metal encasing around his head, which he doesn't do that.
Right.
So he just has regular skull. So I think that definitely it's prone to that. I mean, they've taken all precautions for that to hopefully not happen. But for sure.
I think that goes back to the episode with the outbreak when they didn't want him to get sick
Right.
because if he gets sick and something
Can affect
happens,
the
it
chip.
can
Right,
affect
exactly.
the chip. Yeah.
He's human.
Yeah.
Well, we should get him a helmet then.
Walk around with a helmet.
Yeah.
But I did love in this episode after he escaped and after Riley chased him down, and then they were all tied up. Dr. Cassidy gets the helmet on and the flak jacket,
Yeah.
and he comes like running through
That
there.
was hilarious.
And he's like, he looks like he's in World War II.
Right,
Like he had
right.
the big helmet unbuckled
Yeah.
and like
Kevlar, by the way.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
Yeah, he had the
Yeah.
running in there, and he had the handgun. And then he's like, I got a gun, I got a
Yeah,
gun.
yeah.
But it was already too late because they were already busted free, you know, straight kicking butt.
That was great. And then he hugged Nelson.
then he hugged
and he
him.
was like, oh, my
So
son.
sad.
Yeah, that was dope. Can I just make a mention about Lillian Strand? You talk about gangsta. She was gangsta in this episode.
We were
Yeah.
getting there.
Like, I mean,
That was next.
was that next?
No, you're good, go.
Sorry, I didn't want to
No,
jump
you're
in, but
good.
I just wanted to make sure that we gave her a shout out because she like put it down. Like she was not budging, flinching. You know, they were talking about it. We're going to talk about Athens in a minute.
Yeah.
But you know, they were bringing it up and she knew what was up and she just was not. And I just love how she had on. And she's been, I think, very consistent. Probably one of the most consistent characters overall, probably besides Riley. But, you know, throughout the whole, you know,
Yeah, her character's
show.
very
somewhere.
solid.
Right,
It's
right.
very
And
seasoned.
she did have an emotional moment too, by the
Yeah.
way. And I like to see that side of her as well. So
Very, very seasoned actress. in
Yes.
that, so she's very
Yes.
poised all the time. And actually, so since, I'm going to bring this back to Nelson again.
of course you are.
I was watching live, and they were tweeting live, and PJ Byron, who plays Nelson, was tweeting about Lillian's acting and how good she was in this episode.
Really?
She's like, look at Lillian just kicking butt. Like,
Yeah.
And he was just talking about how great she was this week. So
Yeah, she was awesome.
yeah, for sure. She's playing that solid character. And I like she was kind of always a step ahead of them. Like she knew what they were looking for before
Right.
they were able to find it.
Right.
And she knew the protocols to do and like what to do. Like as the episode progressed and as the things in the episode progressed where they lost power. Well, then they lost this. And then they got this far into the process. And she knew each protocol spot on. And you know, she wasn't giving in. She wasn't going to give them the information.
Right.
You know, because basically the whole concept of the show was that they were searching for the Athens list.
Right.
Which then leads me to want to argue earlier points about Mei Chin's returning. So if they're searching for the Athens list and they're looking for new candidates to put the chip in the brain, then that means they don't need Mei Chin. But since they didn't get the Athens list, is that the reason that Mei Chin could return again?
I think yes.
Explain yourself.
Okay, so obviously they found Mei Chin originally
Right.
because she has the Athens virus, and they put the chip in her head because only those people with the virus have the ability for the
gene.
chip to.
It's a
yes,
gene.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Not a virus.
It could be a virus. Gene mutations are often viruses, right?
Move on.
Moving right along. I'm sorry. The Athens gene that is not a mutation or a virus. Regardless, the chip functions in the brain and it doesn't work on anyone else.
Yeah.
Mei Chin had it. And now they have a list of children that have it. Or were they all children?
They
didn't-
were all children.
They were all
Okay.
children, yes.
Basically, when they found out that this was a thing they could do, they found out all the people they could use it on, and they had this list and they stored it on a private server. So since they were trying to find somebody new, that means they were trying to use the technology and put another chip in somebody else to fight against the U.S. Cyber Command and fight against the United States. So does that mean now that they didn't get that list, they don't know the people that have this mutation, are they going to try to find Mei Chin and bring her back?
Well, I think that poses another question where at the end of the episode, when you see Lillian and Dr. Cassidy talking, and he was shocked that the list still existed.
Right.
Because he thought that the list was
Gonna get destroyed.
Right. And that was, you know, what he was fine with. But of course, it was kept alive, according to Lillian, that it was out of her control. Again, air quotes today. It was out of her control, so she couldn't. So that brings me to leave, like, which do you agree with? Because I think that would answer the question as to if that's going to surface again.
And the next question is whose control is it?
We're just going to ask a bunch of questions?
I mean, no, I'm just saying, like, if this is out of her control, who has the control to say that they're keeping this list?
Whoever's in charge of her and Cyber
the president.
Command. Yeah, so she knows that she's in charge of this team and this unit, but she's not really in charge. There have been plenty of times where her orders were something against
Right, with the CIA and the DNI and all that.
So
have been
she's
involved.
pretty low on the totem pole, although she's amazing and kicks ass.
But that totem pole has great acting and butt-kicking skills.
Yeah. But she's pretty low, and there are people above her, and they said, probably the president said, we need this list for whatever reason. I don't know if that means Mei Chin will return. I'm sure she will, but I don't think it's going to be relevant to this list. I think they were trying to get it and make an army. That's my belief.
That was my thought, too, is like a bunch of children that they could
Mold
into adult soldiers.
And weapons.
Exactly.
Did you any of you all, I mean, because I was thinking this, but just posing it out, did any of you think, like, why does it have to be children? Why couldn't it be a list of adults? Or why couldn't it be a list of, you know what I'm saying, all women? Or, you know what I'm saying, like, in relation to, why do you think they focus on children? Is it because that made it to where, oh, we need to protect it because they are children?
Yeah.
And if it wasn't children, it wouldn't be as important to protect?
So I made the assumption that it was something that after they figured out what the gene was, there were a bunch of kids get tested for all sorts of things, and so they went through those tests, and
it was easier to
found
find.
Yeah.
Oh, easier to find the
'cause
candidates.
Kids get tested all the time.
Immunizations, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that part of it was it made it an emotional thing because you want to protect children.
Right.
Obviously, that is an instinct of people.
They're our future.
They are our future. So that
I believe that you. Oh, sorry.
go ahead and fly.
No, it's okay.
Do it.
I got it out.
Out.
I got it out.
We're good. Okay.
Yeah.
So that made Vaughn's feeling and instinct in that, and his desire to want to protect those children, you know, a driving part of the episode. Because, you know, as we see down the line of the episode, when Riley has him at gunpoint and could very easily have shot him, she doesn't, and gives him that great speech that she has, where she has her emotional moment, and, you know, is stop using your brain, stop thinking, and start feeling. Your memory recall is gonna guide you, and yeah, right there on the heart.
Feeling.
Just pat that chest.
You know,
I can
you
feel
know
it bumping.
You can feel it.
You know, and she gave him that great speech, and that allowed basically Vaughn to switch back to the right side.
Yes.
I was hoping for a kiss, but
Yeah.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
I was hoping for something like that.
Yeah.
That would cause some kind of a memory recall.
Some sort of emotional connection that wasn't just words.
Well,
But I mean, are we intimate?
Are we
Yeah.
intimate?
Are we intimate?
No, God no.
God, no.
never.
No, absolutely not.
I wrote it down too. I loved that question.
Yeah.
Are we intimate?
But I think think even with that statement and then her reaction, I think that's the closest that we've gotten to them being jumping the what I want to try to say.
Emotional train?
Exactly. Thank you.
There it
Thank you. Being outside of just partnership, but going to that next level.
Well, and they even hinted at it at the beginning, because after David asked her out, you know, he's like, he's not the one for you, you know, and he was talking about like what she was feeling on the inside, like, yeah, he doesn't do it for you.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, how do you know?
Right.
You know, and then at the end of the episode, she does the same thing back to him.
Yes.
So they're feeling each other a
Yes.
lot here. And like I said, I feel like, to me, it's setting up for something to happen between them, which will then set up for Emilio's return. Because it won't be as climactic of a return if she just comes back.
Right.
But if there's something that her coming back causes the problem with, then it'll be impactful to me.
Right.
I agree with you.
I think what's really interesting is that we've had it since the first episode that he or she will say something to the other person, and at the end, the other person will say it back.
Right.
Like either we're partners or we're not.
Where you're supposed to be, either we're partners or we're not.
The
Right.
$20 at the beginning, at the end, the first episode.
You can owe me.
Yeah. Like that's our sandwich of the episode. Here's how the episode starts. Here's how the episode ends.
Which it didn't start that way this week.
Yeah, it didn't.
This is the very first time since we started commenting on that it didn't start that way. There wasn't a starting point with their episode because remember he was talking to Nelson and then the printer went out and then he went blank.
Right.
But it did end that way.
But it did have our
it was in there. It just wasn't the very start of the episode.
But I think too, but it was more so heightened because of the nature of the episode being so emotional.
Yeah,
and really, I thought something was gonna, I don't know necessarily kiss, but when she busted in there, and Dr. Cass like, "What are you doing?" You know, and she just kind of goes in there.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was emotional, and you could see, you know, the tears were like in there. They didn't come out, but she was at her most vulnerable state that I've seen her in.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful.
I just got to say, when she has the speech about stop thinking and feeling, just feel whatever, he switched back a little too fast for my taste.
Yeah.
Should have held it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Thought about it a little longer.
Because I think we see him, he doesn't know what's going on. He's being flooded with information. These people show up and say, hey, you are actually working for us. They're bad people. She's bad. And he's like, oh, that's right. She's bad. I'm on your side. And then like 20 minutes later, Riley's like, wait, feel for a second. And he's like, oh, I feel it. Oh, that's right. You're good. He's a flip-flopper.
It was really quick. It was really quick.
He's a flip-flopper.
Yeah, it was really quick. I agree with you.
Thank you.
I agree with you, yes.
That's all I wanted.
Way to ruin the moment for everyone. So let's talk about another moment when...
I apologize.
I love when Nelson and Dr. Cassidy are hugging, but my favorite thing about that moment when they are reunited is they're both wearing plaid shirts and sweater vests.
I did notice that.
I was like, dude, they're both wearing plaid shirts. That's amazing. And they're like matching and like they're hugging. And
that's like the uniform of the, you know,
the nerd.
technique. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to wear.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but before that happens, we see that Jin Cong escapes and is running out, but Dr. Cassidy builds a stun bomb. He's
Yeah.
like, I got to thinking, if you could do that with the chip, why couldn't you do it with somebody else?
Right.
And he basically saves the day. So we see everyone contributing this week in terms of some aspect of helping everyone else out.
Even when Nelson like just, you know, flew the chair and knocked the guy down, like that was
him helping out. And
It
then
was.
It gave Riley the moment to break from the first guy, and she choked him out.
Exactly.
Jameson got some guns, started gatting people.
Right.
Yeah. We saw him shoot really well again.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's
right.
pop, pop, pop.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was a great episode, a great ensemble episode is the word.
Yeah.
Ensemble is the word I'm
Ensemble.
looking for. Ensemble episode, which is a really nice thing for us to see. So when the episode ends, I liked the comment that he made when he's talking to Lillian, and he says, you know, I have become death. And he's quoting Robert Oppenheimer, who was in charge of the Manhattan Project. As we remember from the first episode, they basically associated clockwork to a modern day Manhattan Project because that was when they built the atomic bomb and when Oppenheimer figured out how to split the atom and all these different things. So does that make you think that coming down the road something bad is going to happen? Because that's the second time they've made the reference, and especially, you know, that specific quote from Oppenheimer, "I have become death," because that was how he felt, you know, after the atomic bomb was finished and they dropped it, you know, in Hiroshima.
Right.
So could you see something now because of that bad happening?
I am going to be honest. I think that they were just, because they referenced everything, this episode was just a continuation of the first episode. It felt like it could have been the 2-part sequel or whatever. So I think the reason they made those references is not a foreshadowing of anything. I think it was just oh, remember when we made that reference in the last episode?
Connection.
Yeah.
Oh, just kind of connecting the two.
That's my personal belief. I hope that I'm wrong.
You know, I hope you're wrong too, but we'll find out. And the two thing with that is they started this episode with the previously on intelligence, which they've never done before, which I like when shows do that when they're introducing something that maybe happened a while ago. Like that doesn't make me feel as an audience that I am missing anything or make me feel dumb. I like when shows do that because it's like, oh, cool, something's going to happen that happened before, you know, and now I'm going to be more engaged in the show. So I think shows can do that more often and audiences get it.
Yeah.
So I think shows don't do that enough, actually.
I agree.
So, all right, cool. So we had a good time here today, Intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Great time.
I think so.
We talked about love.
We did talk about a lot of love. We talked about Riley and Vaughn having a moment, some tears flowing. We talked about my boy Nelson.
Yes.
So I want to know what you guys think is going to happen next week because it's time for the AfterBuzz TV predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So in the trailer for this next week, we got very limited information about next week's episode. We find out that there's a guy with a bomb in his van. He's in San Francisco, and basically there's some stuff going on with his daughter.
With Lillian's daughter.
Is it Lillian's daughter?
It's Lillian's daughter.
So
it's like,
we got nothing in the trailer though, other than this Lillian's daughter, about information on anyone. Because a lot of times they'll preface something that's going to happen based on somebody else. So what do you think is going to happen, Yael?
I think from the trailer it looked like there's this bomb that he's going to put on the Golden Gate Bridge, and I'm really nervous because San Francisco's my home. So hopefully everything will be okay. I'm pretty much sure that everything's going to be okay because this is intelligence.
Tell us how you really feel.
So I think Lillian's daughter is going to end up somehow being a hostage or something really important, and they're of course going to save her.
So how does it tie back then to Lillian?
I think they're all going to go to San Francisco. That's about it. I think we might get some backstory about Lillian, why she has a daughter, why the daughter's in San Francisco. Hopefully we'll see her father again. Yay!
Hopefully. Why then do you think that... Oh, wait, never mind. I don't know more about that one.
What? Okay.
No, I got it. I'm going to go there. So...
Yes?
Lem, tell us what you think's going to happen next week.
It's like we were saying earlier, they didn't give a whole lot to it. I do think that there is going to be a story about Lillian, being that it's a tiny episode, and that's what they did show us. So if it is, like you said, her daughter, there's definitely going to be a backstory with that. I think there's going to be some danger elements in regards to Lillian being in trouble because, as I was saying earlier, she's been a very consistent character, been in charge, handled things even in tough times. But I think this will probably... thinking ahead will probably be a sense that she'll be vulnerable or, be in some sort of danger, and probably Gabriel will have to save her. I don't know if the dad will come into play, possibly. I don't think so.
We'll have to know who he is.
Yeah. But I think it'll be more so her and the daughter being in trouble and then, them coming to save the day.
Yeah.
So my question then that I was going to ask before I forgot and then remembered is, do you think Lillian's going to give some kind of order that's going to maybe be a conflict of interest between Vaughn, because she gives Vaughn orders all the time,
right?
That kind of stuff.
Probably.
We'll find out next week, won't we?
We will.
Why don't you guys tell us where we can find you, Yael?
Oh, me. You
Ladies
remember
first.
who I am? The people can find me online at yael.tv. That's yael.tv. And on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at YaelTygiel. That's YaelTygiel. Lem?
Thank you.
Sir.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at The Poet Saint all day.
All day, every day. And as always, you can find me at RyanHooks92 on the Twitter, on the Instagram, on the Facebook, and at the Yahoo. Hey, everyone, thanks for tuning in. From your AfterBuzz family here in Intelligence, Yael Tygiel, Lem Gonsalvez, Roy in the booth, I'm Ryan Hooks. We're out.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.